You're listening to the Australian Hunting and Beyond podcast with Matt, where we talk about hunting, shooting, fishing, camping, and everything else that the great outdoors has to offer. Let's get into it. Johnny, we're here finally. It's been a long time coming, but your weekend's success, or last week's success, I should say, just went, You know what, it's got to happen. Let's get him on and have a chat about it. So, mate, how you been? Good to see you.
Oh, hey, Matty. Thanks for having me, mate. Yeah, been bloody great, mate.
Well, what a way to end the year. So it's look, you love a state forest hunt, and I got the message from you very close to Christmas, just after Christmas, I think it was.
Yeah.
And saying, I'm going away with a mate. We're doing a couple of days. And I said, geez, it's hot and it's one of those things. I seem to have the worst luck going down for state forest in summer because it'll be a total fire ban and I'm out. So you managed to wiggle your way through some very hot days, no fire bans. So you were on hunting the entire time. How good's that?
Yeah, so good, man. So good. I've had a lot of luck through summer. I think every summer I go since I've had my license, and it's always been really fun. The hot weather, I don't seem to mind the hot weather, but obviously like hunting during the day is no good because it's way too hot. But the mornings and afternoons just bring them out. I
haven't gone too much. As I said, I seem to get smashed with total fire bans. So summer, it isn't my lucky thing. I'm glad you went because obviously I live vicariously through you sometimes, getting all the photos as you go. And it was a successful trip day dot. Like you were there, 30 minutes into the first day hunt and happy days.
Yeah, we left Thursday Arvo, got there around 6 o'clock to Mooragle North and had camp set up by about 6:30 and had my first deer down by about 7. Yeah, about 7 o'clock.
Which is pretty damn good. So 30 minutes on the deck, then the work begins. Heat, not an issue?
It wasn't too bad in the afternoon, no. It was probably I think it was under the 20s and we were only about a half an hour walk from camp. So it wasn't too bad at all.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Yeah. So you knocked over a fallow first day, pressure off, happy days.
Pressure was off, yeah.
What was the first? Let's go meat quality. This time of year, they're full of fat. It's decent, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so the one we got had a lot of fat on it compared. So it was a little buck, not too big as you saw from the photo. But yeah, he was very, very fat. Still in velvet. It was the tops were a little bit soft on the antlers, but the rest was pretty much solid. But yeah, he had some weight to it from you saw from the photo. Lots of fat. We just butchered it up as quickly as possible. Got it in the bag and headed straight back to camp. Chucked in a little fridge. So yeah, it wasn't too bad.
I was going to say that. How does the fridge go? Because you put it in an esky, and I always find that the heat, it just insulates and becomes like almost an oven. The fridge is probably a little bit different because it's got that compressor and it keeps running the cold through it. Did you have any issues?
No dramas. We put all our food, every time we go camping, we put all our food and deer as well in the fridge. No issues.
And were you hacking it up and did you quarter it out or did you actually,
just quartered it out, brought it back to camp and then hacked it up?
Yeah, happy days. So tell me about the rest of the weekend, mate. Like great start. Like, is it just the monkeys off the back? I now can chill out and explore, or am I there for more? What are you doing?
Yeah, so it was Lockie's turn next. So it was Lockie's turn to get a deer, and we just couldn't get the job done for him. Had a few unfortunate events throughout the 3 days that we were there. We probably ended up seeing about 25 deer, maybe close to 30 deer throughout Mooragle North and Bago, which was really cool. And yeah, just had some unfortunate events. So Lockie couldn't get the job done, or you know how it goes with hunting. The wind changes, you step on a branch, and they just appear out of nowhere and run off. It was tough trying to find one the last couple of days on the ground, but still great though. Still great to see them. Still great to get some info on where they are. Just great to be out there.
And I know he had a close encounter.
We had two close encounters with Sambar on the second last day in 2 different spots, which was pretty cool. We decided to go check out a samba spot in Mooragle North, and we parked the car and started heading into the forest on a game trail that we know that's pretty good for samba. And about no more than 5 minutes into the walk, we just get honked at, and it was so loud, and we were pretty much on top of the hill, and I think he was down on the bottom of the hill where there's a bit of a creek that runs through there, and it's like that, that ferny Aussie scrub.
Yeah.
He was tucked away in there, or she was tucked away in there, and didn't get eyes. Yeah, didn't get eyes on it. We just heard the crash and then gone, just like that. And that was in the morning. That was a real shock and got the heart going, which was awesome. It was awesome to see, because now we know that's a good spot for them. But then in the afternoon we checked out a different spot where kind of near where I shot my fallow, and we were walking up this game trail, and the wind changed on us, and within a minute or two we get honked at again, pretty much directly in front of us. They popped out. There was 2 of them. They popped out behind these gum trees, and they were just gone. And they were just right in front of us. And but it was so good to see. So good to see. I've never had much luck with samba. It's a whole different game compared to the fallow.
Well, I mean, the good thing about the honks is that you don't need a coffee in the morning if you're going to get one of those early up. They definitely gets the blood pumping and a wake-up call.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Those guys that go out there and chase samba, that's a whole nother level. Whole nother level.
You pretty much got the fallow dialed in, because you're pretty successful going into a different state forest and being able to get one on the deck, or at least get eyes on them at every single time. And it's pleasing to hear and see, because it's one of those tricky things. State forest hunting can be a very tedious, long journey, especially a new forest, and understanding what's going on. And one of the things I've mentioned you on the podcast previously is one of your goals wanting to be out and about and hunt nearly every state forest in New South Wales, which is a massive thing.
Yeah. And yeah, absolutely.
You've had a fair bit of success at a heap of different forests, which is bloody great.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I don't know what's going on. I think it's because it's just the type of hunting style that I do. Like, I can't sit and wait and hunt. Like, I think I've tried it. It lasts about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And I'm like, no, I need to walk. I'm a big sucker for just finding a game trail and just following it, just continue following it. And then, if I'm walking for a couple of hours and don't find nothing, go to the next, bit of state forest, which I haven't checked out, and do the exact same thing. And that's generally where I've had my success from, is by doing that. I'm not sure what it is, Matt.
Well, I mean,
I'm not mad about it though. So
hey, I was going to say, you can't be upset either way. Like, if you go in a different state forest and getting eyes on and getting one on the deck, which you do regularly, or going back to the same one and getting them on the deck regularly, it's great to see. I'm with you. Sitting there, 20 minutes. I don't even know if I can hit that sometimes. I really battle. It's just a tricky. Yeah. I get it's a mind game, and I get people that are super successful do it, but it's hard.
Oh yeah, kudos to those that want to do that. Like, if that's their style, that's their style. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I just can't do it. I need to walk. Like, I just need to walk. I need to see what's around the next corner, what's around, the next hill. I just need to. That's what I enjoy doing. And then I get a good layout of the land, and you kind of build off that. You kind of build on what that area is like, and then you move to a different area and it's completely different. And it's cool. I like the adventuring part.
Well, I mean, one of the ones you went to Menace, and I've spoken about, I gave you a couple of pointers. I still haven't got a deer out of bloody Menace, and I know they're there. I get eyes on them a lot, but they just seem to catch me, take off, disappear like the ghosts of the forest they are. I'll let you tell the story.
Oh, I got a double kill there, on the first day, I think, or the second day, or the first day.
No, it was the first day.
Yeah, it was the first day, yeah.
First morning, I should say.
Yeah, that place is killer. I need to do more fitness to go there again, because that place broke me with the amount of hills that are there.
It is a hilly, tough thing. Oh, look, the view is incredible when you're up the top.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's
awesome.
unreal. It's a great place to hunt, but yeah, you definitely need to have some fitness on you, and you definitely need to have those legs pumping.
Yeah, yeah. By the last day there, my knees were pretty swollen and pretty sore. I've never been that sore there before, but it was totally worth it. That place is awesome.
So how did it happen? You got two young bucks.
Yeah, two young bucks out of nowhere. Actually, it was this is a stroke of luck. This is definitely no hunting skill at all. So, but essentially what happened was in the morning we were tracking a few deer up the hill, up one of the hills that are there, and we got to the top of the hill and spotted, there was like 6 or 7 of them up there. And like deer do, you see them, they disappear, you don't see them again. So we started walking down the hill, and I noticed on the left-hand side of us, there was like the pine forest has been cut down, so it's all like, dirt and stumps and whatever. So that was on our left-hand side, and we're walking down a fire trail. And I was looking over to the left, and I saw 2 deer on top of the hill, just kind of about to go over the crest. And you weren't allowed to shoot in that area; it was all in the pink, so we just didn't really care about it. So we just kept walking down the track, and kept walking down the track for a couple 100 meters, and I looked back over to the left in the same plot of land, and those 2 deer popped up on the top of the crest, and they started walking down towards us, towards the fire trail, in the non-huntable land. So we just stopped in the middle of the fire trail, just dead silent, just stopped and watched them, and they just kept walking down the track, just pretty much looking towards us. They had no care in the world that we were even there, and they pretty much kept walking down the hill, hooked a left, and kind of backtracked where we were walking, where we came from. And they were just still in the non-pink zone. And now we're looking at their asses while they're walking away from us. So I got set up and laid down on the ground and had the bipod out and everything. And I was waiting, and they were still in the non-huntable land. And they both just came straight onto the fire trail and went straight into the huntable land and took one, and the other one just stood there and looked back at us and took the other one. At one stage they were probably about 40 meters away from us, and they didn't even have a care in the world. I'm not sure if they didn't see us because we just stayed still and didn't move while they were coming down the hill. But I think that one was a bit of a stroke of luck.
Well, mate, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's luck or not. It's I sit there and I have a rough idea of where you're talking, and I like Manus. It's a very nice forest to hunt. Tough, but it's good, and I've got a couple of really good spots. It's one of those ones that every time I go there, I see deer, and it's just I haven't had the just the luck, I suppose, as you sort of say, that they're in a nice spot. The last time I saw it, literally, there was 3 going straight down a trail, and they were just coming across, and they just disappeared into there was just no shot there. Like they just melted away, and I was just on the wrong side of the creek. These things happen. That's hunting. That's what I love about hunting. And there's good numbers in Manus. And
there is.
It's just a matter of being, as you said, right place, right time, like that. Those 2 young bucks walking across, coming out saying, "G'day, take me for meat, happy days." Like, what a win.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was crazy. I've never seen anything like that before. Usually a deer looking at you, and just continually walking, not running, just walking at their own pace without a care in the world. It was really bizarre, but it was a cool moment. Definitely a cool moment. And we did the right thing by not taking him in the non-huntable land.
Yeah.
Waited for the right moment. So it was cool. Yeah, it was definitely very cool.
Well, it's one of the things I like about you, and I guess that's why our friendship has sort of evolved in that, we do talk a lot, and you're a pretty ethical guy, and that's what I really like. Like no one's around, you probably never got found out, but you still waited and you did the right thing, which is, in my mind, I think that's what every hunter should do. That no matter if someone's watching or not, you should be acting appropriately as if everybody's going to find out. And I think that's that's the way that everything's above board and people do the right thing.
Yeah, I feel like it's so difficult as it is to get like your firearms license and to get a firearm and then to get the R license and to ruin an opportunity like, the deer could have been 10 meters into the non-huntable land and you took them, but you really shouldn't do that. You should wait, do it by the rules. You know what I mean? Wait. If they don't come into the land to shoot them, then, that's fine. It doesn't matter. But yeah, don't do the wrong thing. It's such a good opportunity. Wouldn't ruin it. Wouldn't ruin it over a couple meter shot.
No, definitely not. And,
No.
it's one of the things I sort of talk about is that the more people that do the right thing, the more I feel public land hunting has the opportunity to grow. It's when things that are not right is when that hits the media, that makes the noise, that is just ammunition for people to use against the many, many hunters out there that do the right thing. And that happens so often. Like if you think about
absolutely.
public land, I think I would go as far to say is that 99% of people do the right thing out there all the time, and it's fantastic, but it doesn't matter. You take one bad egg, one set of whatever happens, and everybody finds out about it. And that both hunting community and non-hunting community, especially in these small towns, people in small towns, it's very easy for a message to go around and someone does the wrong thing and it goes around very quickly. And it's not what we want to portray hunters as.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right there. 100% right.
So, mate, how many forests did you hit last year? I'm saying last year because we're just into 2025.
To be honest, probably about 3 or 4, I think, last year. The last 2 years have been a bit. I haven't hunted as much as I would like to, just with work and taking on a new business and a missus and stuff like that, which isn't a bad thing. But I try to go out at least 3 to 4 times a year, every 2 to 3 months. I try to get out. Yeah, at least. Yeah.
And what's the plans for this year? You've got, we're very early into the year. I know I'm already starting to think about what's going on. I want to do some scouting before Croak Camp. I'm super excited for Croak Camp. I just, where as soon as that year ticks over, I start to get into like the mindset of the rut's coming. It's time to ramp up everything, get ready for it. It's game on now. It starts now.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been pretty unlucky every rut I've been to, except my first rut ever. Hey, I think I've cursed myself after taking a red stag as my first deer during rut. I haven't been able to get a good fallow on the deck, and I haven't seen any good big boys during rut since, to be honest. I think I'm a little bit cursed.
Well, I mean, look, you got a decent stag to open the account. So, tell us that story. So people out there are hearing it going first rut, or we should say first raw. They happen at relatively the same time here in Australia.
Pretty much the same
the
time,
fallow we call the rut, and the red deer we call the raw.
Yeah.
They overlap. Tell us about it.
Oh, so red stag is my first deer in a state forest. Probably about a year into getting my R license. pretty crazy. We went out to Bondi State Forest, and if anyone knows that one, it's on like the border of Victoria. Quite a good forest for. I think I've heard it's a great forest for getting sambar and reds and fallows and stuff like that. But I've only been there a handful of times. But yeah, first adventure out there with a group of 5 friends, and we all picked our different spots. It's quite a crazy story, this one. We chose, when you look at like your state forest maps, and majority of the forest, the big bulk of it, sometimes there's little parts of the forest that are like segmented from the bulk of the forest.
Yep.
So you only get like a couple K walking. So we picked one of those spots, and to paint the picture of where we were walking down a fire trail pretty much right next to where we parked the car, and the fire trail went straight, and on the left-hand side was like pine forest, but it was that really like kind of like baby pine where you can't walk through it, you can't see through it. It's pretty much just like a wall of pine. And then on the right-hand side was some private land, and we were walking down this trail, and I was looking over into the private land, and I spotted a deer in the field. Had no idea it was a red hind at the time. Just knew it was a deer from what it looked like, and we sat there and watched it for probably about 20 minutes or so, and just watch and see what they were doing in the field. They were just eating, doing not too much, and we ended up seeing another about 3 more in the field. And we noticed that they were starting to move out of the field, and where the fire trail where we were on, like I was saying, it was a T intersection. So if you get to the end of the T intersection, if you hooked a right, there was a driveway to get into his property. And then if you hooked a left, you'd go back into the state forest. And then in front of the T intersection, it was non-huntable forest. Big pine though. So they were going into there. So we just thought nothing of it and just continued walking down the track once they were gone into the forest, and went around this T intersection and hooked a right. So now we're looking up about 400 meters of fire trail, and on the right-hand side is all that pine which we weren't allowed to hunt. And we just walked a couple 100 meters down the track, and probably like 30 meters into the non-huntable land, there was all those deer were just right there, just in front of us, just looking at us. We were just like amazed at the time, because I've never seen deer before in person. It was just crazy. There was about 9 of them and the stag. And they weren't too bothered that we were there, and they pretty much just like started walking back into the forest, but going up the hill towards the fire trail where we were traveling. And I just remember all the hinds ran off, including the stag, except one hind stayed behind. And I was just watching her and just checking it out, see what she was doing. And I remember Lockie going, "John, they're jumping over the fence." And I looked up the fire trail, and one hind jumps over the fence and runs into the pine. Another one jumped the fence, runs straight across into the pine where we were allowed to shoot. And yeah, I remember laying down, getting all comfy and prone, and through the scope saw another hind jump over the fence. Couldn't take the shot because they were running. And then all of a sudden the stag came out, and he pretty much just walked into the middle of the fire trail, stopped, did a 180 to look back, and he was waiting for the other hinds to follow him, essentially. And couldn't have asked for a better shot. Could not have asked for a better shot, and took him in the middle of the fire trail. And yeah, it was unbelievable. It was absolutely unbelievable. I'm surprised I actually hit him, to be honest. I was quite shaky behind the rifle, but it was a good shot. It dropped him, and it was ethical. And it was insane. That was insane.
Pretty awesome. Did you hear him roar? That's I'm dying to hear it. So yeah, okay.
No rolls.
I'm dying to hear it, and especially on public land, because just in general, I suppose, but public land would be even more special. But there's nothing better than, for me, hearing that croak and just listening to him go at it all night. The problem is I just lay in the camp trailer and I just can't sleep because I'm listening for it. And just, I wonder where that is. Where's that coming from? Is he going to be going at morning? I need to, it's a really tough one, because it keeps me up, and then I'm buggered the next day on top of, doing the Ks and whatnot.
He's so excited. Yeah, he's just so excited. Yeah.
I always say that to the wife. I go away to, recharge and relax, and the amount of walking and what I do is not probably relaxing or recharging. I get home and I'm buggered because I've done so much, but I'm definitely recharged because I do love getting out the bush. But it's not like the holiday, just kick your feet up and sit around. I suppose it would be if I could actually sit down and just do a sit and wait all day. But that's just, I really struggle with that.
Well, if you go out summer more often, the whole middle of the day you get to relax. So
well, so I shouldn't say the last time, because the last time we went out with Dan, we did get a fallow on the deck. But I remember going out for one with a mate, Sal, and shout out to him. I know he listens. And man, it was hot. It was just stinking hot, but to the point where we were camping, and it was, it was 40 plus, and there was no air. And we were I was in the swag and trying to get some rest or some sleep, because we were on private. So there's a paid private block. And so you could do a bit of night spotting and things like that. And it was like, well, I think that's the only time these things are really going to be out and about, because it was hot. It was just such a killer, and it just sucks the energy right out of you, to the point where I think I was sitting on the chair at one stage, literally using my water, just pouring it on me to try and get some sort of anything just to cool me down, because it was bad. It was
that's brutal.
It was not a nice time, and that sort of, I guess, I think that's put me off a lot of summer hunting, because it was that bad. And then every time I've tried to do it on public, it's a total fire ban, just happens to fall my way. So
you're so unlucky, Matt.
Well, I've been wanting to I want to get out this towards the end of this month, but I was looking the other day going, I think I'll go out, and the fire ban started popping up, and I was just like, oh, here we go. And I think I messaged you and said, oh, there was a fire down that way where you were, and I was like, oh, heads up for this one. Just keep your wits about you, be careful, and no issue for you at all. I was like, my luck, that would have caught and bloody ran amok. So
yeah, we drove past it, and there was blokes. I think it was a controlled fire, to be honest. There was heaps of blokes there and stuff like that. But yeah, it must just be your luck, mate.
Yeah,
it must just be your luck.
I keep saying that the deer gods have got something against me. I did something wrong in a bad life, I'd say. That's
we need to tee up a hunt.
Well, mate, that's it. We'll get out, and maybe I'll have to rub your head. You know what do they do?
I'll give you some of my luck.
So State Forest, you've nailed red, you've nailed a heap of fallow. You haven't got the sambar yet.
Haven't got the sambar yet, and haven't seen reds in a state forest since my first one that I took down on the ground.
Yeah.
The sambar just keeps getting away from me. So, but that's okay. It's all part of the journey. So,
well, that's what I sort of feel, and I've said it before. I feel the fallow are sort of the Labrador, or the big puppy of the deer world, that they give you a bit more opportunity.
They do. They do.
And then your reds and your sambar are really a bit more switched on, especially sambar. And then it's a different kettle of fish and different game. I do absolutely find that allure is really there, because I want to get a sambar on public, because it's for me, because they are such elusive animals, and I know how hard people chase them. I really want to go after them, and there's nothing better than you see a trail camera and you see the sambar on there and just go, they're there. I just got to put these pieces of the puzzle together, and I've got to get there more often and check it out. So as we talk, I've got a couple of cameras on an absolute cracking spot, and I'm just biting at the bit to get down there, check the footage, throw a heap more cameras out, and see what happens. But it's one of those things, isn't it? Like, all year I think about hunting, even when I'm hunting. And then
so do I.
On the drive home, I'm thinking about getting back to hunting. And then even now, it's just like ramping up of getting towards hunting. And even like Christmas, what presents am I going to get for hunting? It's just this flow on.
You do like your hunting gear, don't you?
Oh, I love gear. We were talking about that because you were the one that we were chatting, and you take the majority of your shots in the state forest off a bipod, predominantly.
If I can get the stable shot, I'll take it every time. Yeah. I'll take it every time. And I'll try to do everything I can to get a stable shot with the bipod, pretty much.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, that's just definitely the way to go. I really didn't want to be lugging around a bipod and that little bit of extra weight and whatnot. And especially in a lot of the places I've been hunting, I haven't seen the need for it because you haven't got those longer shots. But there are opportunities there that present themselves occasionally. So it was playing on the back of my mind and looking for bipod, look for something. And I came across the Spartan Javelin Light and just this solves all my problems. And being able to connect it so quickly because it's magnetic, being able to transition it between rifles, being able to it's next to nothing weight. I can have it in I'm thinking about putting it in my bino harness, to be honest. I've got the wedge tail, the Morocco 30 wedge tail, so it's
Yeah, right.
big. So I've got enough room there to put it in. I'm thinking about even putting it in the bino harness so I can just pull it out and throw it on. I took it to the range the other day to test it out on the 308, and man, it was good.
Yeah, nice.
I'm super, super happy with that purchase, and I just now want to christen it.
Yeah, you've seen photos of my bipod. It's just the black clunky ones. They make a whole bunch of noise when you pop the legs out, but it doesn't bother me. I've just left it on my rifle with my sling and just stays on there. It doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me at all. It sometimes gets caught like on my bag, like because I predominantly have it like the rifle pointing upwards, so the bipod gets caught on the shoulder.
Yep.
But yeah, it doesn't bother me. I don't even run binos these days.
Really?
Never run binos. No.
There you go.
Never.
I was joking around with my mate Dan on this one because he doesn't even own any camo. And
yeah, right.
Where he's looking to come to Croak Camp and stirring me up about he's coming to a state forest. He's not going to wear any camo and see what happens because it's pretty funny. And I get it. Look, for me, I like all that stuff. It's part of the whole, the whole thing with hunting is that
it's the look. It's the look. Like you got your rifle, you got your camo.
I think it goes more than that. I think for me, I like to be invested in everything about hunting. So when I'm not out hunting, I'm thinking about hunting and I'm thinking about my gear, and I always want to refine and make my gear as efficient and productive as possible. And if I'm not happy with something, I'll keep tinkering to find a way to make it better. And that's where I've tried a couple of different bipods and I wasn't super sold. Of course, I've got one on my long range setup, but that's a chassis. I'm not lugging around a forest, unlike my mate Frodo. And for me, I was just looking at something going, I need to do something because I do want to have the option there. I do like the shooting sticks, and we've spoken about that. You run them occasionally as well.
Yeah, they're in the backpack. Yep.
Yeah, and I just found the tripod, like if you're going for a sit and wait, the tripod, brilliant. I love it. It's such a stable platform to shoot off. The problem is if you're doing massive miles, it's heavy and clunky. It's another thing that's in the way. It's not beneficial for state forest hunting, in my opinion, compared to the way I'm hunting now. So for me, the sticks and the bipod make a little bit more sense, especially last trip, missing that fallow because I was on a very flimsy tree and just not having a decent grounding. That annoyed me because, you don't get a massive amount of opportunities in a state forest. You really want to take them when they present. And I think, look, that's part of the whole journey, and the whole thing for me about hunting is the gear, the hunt itself, the animals, learning everything you can about them. Even the podcast, I love doing it because it's talking about hunting, hearing what people use, hearing how they do things, which could be a little bit different from mine. And that might mean that I might pick something up and be able to implement it. And that might make me a little bit better, or it might be something that then changes my luck from what happened last time with missing. I feel that if I had a bipod, I probably wouldn't have missed. I didn't have one.
Yeah, absolutely. Hearing like a lot of people's experiences and then applying that to your own hunting will help, and it's also helped me. I've learned a lot from your podcast and listening to other people's experiences and situations, which it isn't going to be exactly the same, but could be similar. It just just being in the back of your mind and going, do this or do it this way, or it could be anything. It can be anything.
Well, that's the best thing about it. Is just having chats with people, and there might be something you pick up. There might be something that you take away. There might be something that you pick up and go, oh, that's not for me, but I can see how it works. That's great. Like all these different things, because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. You don't know how circumstances might change slightly, what might benefit you, what you might change in your hunting style. For me, being able to jump between things, like I really do love bow hunting, and it's so much harder than rifle, in my opinion. And
absolutely.
For me, that's another challenge. Like I can there's nothing better. Like today's been a massive day. I just posted on the socials about it before we jumped on here. Is that I got out this morning for a run, did a weight session, jumped on with an absolute legend last episode, and then went out and flung some arrows, and then we're here tonight having another chat. It's so cool to be able to do that and hear different things and sort of piece things together, or just have that chat and reflect on what I do, what has been working, what hasn't been working. And hey, look, I don't have all the answers, far from, but just being able to chat to people, hear some of the things, geez, it works wonders in my opinion. And that's why I thoroughly enjoy doing this.
Yeah. What's your style of hunting, Matty?
Like I can't sit still. There is just it's just not what I do. So I will tend to do the e-scouting, and I'll try and come up with some plans and have idea of where I want to go and what I'm going for. Yep. And look, I will say the majority of times when I pick the area I get on the ground, and it's generally pretty good. I'm finding sign or seeing deer. And that's been the big change for me, I guess, since when I started. I'd watch the YouTube, I'd read a couple of books, and, did the e-scout. And generally I've been pretty good in finding deer.
Yeah.
It was the after the facts. And I think what I've learnt, especially along the way, is just to slow down and calm down. If you see a deer, it doesn't mean it's going to run away. And I think that's, for a lot of people in a state forest, is you usually get busted because you're too fast, too loud, whatever it might be, and you're seeing deer running. And when I sort of got past that and I moved a hell of a lot slower, and especially when I found some good areas with a lot of sign, I started to see deer and they weren't running and they weren't spooking as much. And I was able to sit back and watch them a bit longer. And it still goes against a lot of fibers in my being of wanting to take the shot immediately or get it straight away or close the distance as quickly as possible. And I've found that's been a detriment in a couple of attempts. And I really want to back that off. And that's been happening too. And being able to watch them for a bit. I think the last stalk I did was pretty good, sort of 20 to 30 minutes, which was a long stalk. And it was on public. And it was because I took my time. I didn't rush. I didn't feel the need to rush as well. And that's when it sort of goes against what I want to do, is awesome. But it does make sense. And that's happened a couple of times now that I really go, okay, I've got to get better. Just slow down. Take that. So, because I do like stalking. Stalking's, we just see more. But look, it could be because I still get excited when I see prints and a rub and a scrape. And, if I see any of that stuff, I get excited. So for me, walking and finding that stuff is bloody awesome. So I find that a much more attractive style of hunting than sitting still and not seeing anything all day. Now, if you talk to people, and a lot of knowledgeable people say if you want to be successful, especially early on in your hunting career, that you should be doing a lot of sit and waits. Find a good spot, recon it, sit and wait, the deer will come. And hey, I'm not saying they don't. Definitely believe that's the case. And it's just not the style that I can do. And I love when I talk to Americans, especially because I have no idea how they do it.
Oh, they love it. Hey, they got those tree stands and sit in the stands all day and waiting for deer to come through. But it's their style of how they hunt.
Well, I think it comes down to there's so many hunters over there compared to us.
And the population of people.
You think about how big the country is that we live in.
Yes.
The lack of population, like what are we now, 26, maybe 27 million? Bugger all. When you think about the size of Australia, that's bugger all. The amount of hunters that we actually have, like if you look at state forests and you look at how many are booked out, like the good ones always get smashed, but I don't know about you, but every time I go into a state forest, I don't see that many people. Like you listen to the Americans talking about that they go to a trailhead and there's 50 people. Man, we don't have as bad like a system as that, in my opinion. Well, just not the pressure. And let's be real, public land, there is a lot more pressure as well than private. But the good forest, yeah, they get a lot more pressure. The ones closer to Sydney get a lot more pressure. But you can find some good forests, and that you don't really have to go crazy on the booking system to make sure you're getting in there and getting a go. Yeah, it's interesting. So I think their situation plays a bit more of a role in that. And then, well, look, I'll be honest. It's probably the only thing that could make me sit still is if I did have a blind or I did, sit up in a stand. But we don't really.
Yeah, there's heaps of good spots.
I mean, you can have it in the state forest, the blinds. You can't have stands, which is, that's disappointing because I've found some great spots I'd love to be able to have a tree stand in.
Yeah, okay.
And especially what you talked about before, that sort of low pine that's shoulder height, that's just thick and they're touching. So you've got no visibility compared to mature pine. I found some really good spots for that, especially when you could get up a bit higher. But it's tricky. So, yeah, I like the stalk. I like that. I do like seeing new ground. I like getting excited about seeing that, especially new territory. I like to find new territory. I like to explore. I like to find areas. Now, I have said it before. I think that's one of the reasons I haven't gone back to the same forest over and over and over. I'm starting to get better at that, and I haven't gone to the same spot over and over and over because I do like to explore and like to see new things. And it's sort of a mix of everything that I love with bushwalking and hiking and hunting. Like, it's just a mix for me.
I'm finding myself going to my favorite state forest a lot more and hitting my favorite spots. But now I'm starting to go, okay, I've been to this whole side of the forest. I want to check out this side now. Yeah. And, if it's good, it's good. It's bad, it's bad. If you can't walk through it, or if it's too thick, whatever, it's a bust. Bago is seeming like it is getting really cool to go through there because it's so large. Like, it's so large. There's so many places you can go there, and I've only been to a handful, and it's not even 90% of the whole Bago region.
It's a massive state forest, and
massive.
I don't think that there's just so much area there that you could hunt that no one's ever been to. But mind you, I think all of them are like that. Like, I think that's the one of the benefits to the system we have, where you have to book in and they have limited numbers. And I can't remember what it is per hectare off the top of my head per hunter, but there's plenty of space there that people haven't got to.
Yeah, absolutely. There has to be. It's huge.
Yes. Well, all of them, not just Bago, all the forests.
Yeah, all of them.
You've got so much space. Now, yes, some could be harder to push through than others, but depending, and that's where e-scouting comes in, finding those little pockets that potentially are a bit more open, that are a bit more out of the way, that you might have to walk a bit further from a trail. There is definitely ways to go out there and put yourself in a position where you're away from where people have hunted. Do you find you do that a fair bit?
No, I think no, I don't e-scout at all, to be honest. I just get in there, and if it's good, it's good. It's bad, it's bad. I used to do a lot of Google Maps, what's it called, Google Maps Pro or whatever it's called, Google Earth, where you can drill down and have a look and stuff like that. And I found that to be pretty good to find, a few cheeky open spots here and there. But then I found that, the map could be old, and then you get there and it doesn't look anything like what you were looking above. Yeah. So I kind of gave up on that idea. I look at it now, if I go somewhere new and go, okay, cool, this is kind of the plan. But apart from that, I don't really do much scouting. I just get in there and have a look. Get in there, walk slow, and have a look. That's what I like to do.
I mean, hey, well, it works for you. So
yeah, absolutely.
Each their own, and I think that's the beauty of hearing so many different people have success so many different ways. That while someone might tell you this is the best way to do it, doesn't necessarily mean that's the best way for you, and it doesn't mean that you won't be successful doing it your way either.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone's different. Everyone's different. I've been meaning to ask you this question, but when you're, say you're following a game trail and you're looking around and you're walking nice and slow, and you're looking for deer, are you looking for the shape of a deer, or are you looking for, let's say, the color of a deer standing out in the forest?
I I look for movement, and
Okay.
that's probably I think I'm really bad at spotting them in their beds
Okay.
because I
Okay.
feel that I look for movement, and the ones that I'm seeing, it's basically color and movement. And
Yeah.
I've know after talking to a lot of people, that's where I've got to get better within myself is focusing a bit more on trying to see them in their beds because when I'm glassing and I'm taking my couple of steps and then, looking at that new territory that I've opened up, I'm finding that I'm looking for movement and the color, but I'm not looking for an animal that's low to the ground. I'm looking for an
Yep.
animal that's up and walking or
Yep.
standing browsing. Um, that's what I'm going for. And I'm terrible at seeing them in a bed. So I spook a lot of them out of their beds before I've even ever seen them. However, generally we'll see a fair few when they're up and about.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm definitely a spot the color type of person. I'll spot the color difference before I see its like body, if that makes sense. And that's always well, no, it's worked for me a lot,
Okay.
especially through the Aussie kind of country that you walk through there. Yeah, that's how it's worked for me. I've never looked for the shape.
Well,
Oh, it's interesting to hear that.
do you prefer native to pine?
Yeah, much prefer native to pine. Pine's good, but I don't feel like I've ever seen that many deer compared to the Australian bush.
I really want to hear from somebody out there that has had a lot of success in hunting the pine because it's something I don't do much of at all.
Yeah,
I've
neither.
really only done it a handful of times because I feel that it's, especially that mature pine where you've got your corridors. I mean, it's
Yeah,
fantastic that it looks like a shooting lane, but
yeah.
there's not much in there, in my opinion, for them to be feeding on. So I feel like it's a space where they're only going to be transversing through,
That's
or
how I feel as
traversing
well.
through.
Yeah, that's how I feel as well. They're just passing through it to get to the next spot.
But I know a heap of
I could be
people,
wrong.
like I know a heap of people are successful that just hunt pine because I see it all over Facebook. And there's some people that every photo, the animal down is in pine. So
Yeah, okay.
I'm sort of like, oh, okay, there's got to be people out there that love it and they must have some sort of system and they must approach it in a certain way.
Yeah,
Whereas I don't tend to go that way. I try to look for the Aussie bush around pine.
yeah. Same as me.
Yeah. Now, I know people will say freshly cut pine is really great because obviously once it's cleared, the vegetation underneath that bottom layer all of a sudden is getting the sun and it's growing and it's fresh
Yep.
pick and it's probably the place to go. So if you're aware something's been cut down, great place to start as long as it's
Yeah,
still, as long as it's in the green. But that's, yeah, I haven't really spent time hacking it out in mature pine. But again, last time we were up in hunting with up north with a mate, the deer he was seeing was in mature pine. So it was like, yeah, interesting.
yeah. It is interesting. Yeah, yeah. I've only been to a handful of forests that have like mature pine and pine only, and I didn't find it boring, but I just felt like when you walk through it, there's nothing to see. There's nothing to look at. You can't really see tracks. You can't really see. You can barely see game trails. That's how I thought of it, at least anyway. Where the Aussie stuff, you can see it all carved, in the land, and you can see what they're doing. And yeah.
The other thing I found with the pine, especially the mature stuff, is that there's so many fallen branches. And like even just moving through it, you make so much noise.
Yeah.
It's mind you, you say that about native, especially when it's dry, that you're stepping and it's crunching along as well. Actually, when you were down south last after those massive storms in winter, down trees galore. How'd you
Yeah,
find that moving through?
I was going to mention that too. Yeah, I noticed that everywhere we went, there was deadfall, just everywhere,
Yeah.
just everywhere. But it was green, like long grass green, which I was quite surprised about,
Okay.
which made things a bit interesting. But yeah, knocked down trees, like you were saying, just absolutely everywhere, riddled throughout the forest. Yeah, it made it a bit tough at points.
Well, that snow camp period that we got smashed with just I
Yeah, that
think
was brutal
30
for you guys.
centimetre plus snow that night in 6 hours or whatever. That put a lot of branches down, just that sheer weight of the snow in such a short period. I don't think it allowed it to sort of drop off. It just smacked it. So I
Yeah.
know when I was moving around after that, it was just, deadfall everywhere because of that, which has shifted a lot of things because I noticed trails that I used to use and that were very worn game trails are now not.
I noticed that as well. Where some big trees came down in a few of my game trails that I like to hit, but it just seemed like they were just going around them.
Around, yeah, that's what I noticed.
Which is a great sign. Which is a great sign to see because you can see that new game trail coming through, meaning
they're still there.
You're still there, which is great. But hey, it could be horses. The amount of horses that I saw when I was last down was unbelievable. But that's a that's a different issue, that one.
Well, let's talk about that one because what do you reckon you saw? The last time I went down, especially down south, and we're talking about the Snowy Mountains region, man, I would have seen hundreds.
Yeah, me too. We probably stumbled into like groups of like 15 or 20 at least. And they weren't all in the same area. They were all in different spots that we checked. Just horses everywhere. They tear up the land, man. It's incredible. Oh, yeah. It's incredible what they're doing. Like we went to this one spot which has like a bit of a valley with a creek running through it, and even though it's summer and we haven't had much rain, the creek's just chopped. It was just chopped. Like you can just see all the pools of water just going in their tracks, and the creek's not running anymore, and it's just like a big mud pit now.
Yeah,
and they're just riddled everywhere. It's a bit. And I noticed also too, wherever we went and the horses were there we didn't see deer. We saw deer everywhere where we didn't see horses.
Yeah, I wonder if it's the movement, and they're a big animal, but the sheer fact that they're making a lot of noise because they're not quite animals.
No,
can
they carry
spook
on
off the deer.
Yeah, they carry on. If they see you, they'll come up to you and carry on, make a loud bunch of noise, and they all just sprint off into the forest. And then they stop. They look back at you. They carry on again, and all of a sudden they're running off in the forest. And it's like, well, this spot's a bust now, so just ruins that little hunt for you. But yeah, just so many. It can 5 years ago, and in some places that I've been to recently, I never used to see that many horses, and now they're just everywhere, man.
Well, I suppose it's what happens when you have a population of something that isn't kept in check. And
same as the deer.
Yeah, I can't understand why. Oh, look, I can understand it because I think it's just a palatable public issue rather than we should cull them in state forests, because they should be on the species list as far as I'm concerned.
I think they should be too.
There's that many there. And I know some people won't be happy about that, but we need to be understanding and going, if they're left to their own device, they will just continue to breed. And if something's not taking them off the landscape, then they're going to breed and get bigger numbers and bigger numbers and bigger numbers. And that's what we're seeing. The only thing I can see that's going to impact them is if we have another big fire session go straight through. Like I know the Grampians went through at the moment. Well, I think it's sort of under control now. But unless something like that happens again down there, and we don't want that to happen because that was a horrible period. It destroyed a lot of state forests for years. A lot of people lost a lot of problems and, lost a lot of property and untold amounts of damage. But that would be the only thing that would probably keep the numbers in check because we're not allowed to hunt them as well. And I do also feel that's the other reason that they do hang around like that, and that they'll come up to you and that they'll go, because they're not afraid of people, because they aren't being predated on by people either.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I feel is the exact same. They're not afraid of people. They don't care. They're just protecting their little spots, which they walk through, and yeah, it's unbelievable. Would you take one if you were if they were on the species list? Would you
most definitely. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And look, I would eat the meat. I think that's.
Yeah, I think I would too.
I wouldn't want them just shot for the sake of shooting them, and they are still very good quality meat from all accounts. And
I've never tried it.
I haven't either, but I've got a few mates that have, and they swear by it. That they say it's absolutely delicious. there's a big haul of meat of it too. I think
Oh
it's.
yeah, big animals, man.
I wouldn't be opposed to it, and I know that will upset some people, but I mean, it's like anything, isn't it? That if there needs to be something done
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they
I believe so
are
too.
their numbers are enormous down there, and
Yep.
even in the since the fires, they've bounced back massively. And same as you, over the few years, you've seen just them blow up where you'd go
Yeah.
and you'd see, you might do a trip and see 15, 20. Now you're seeing hundreds,
Yeah,
and in much bigger groups.
yeah, yeah. Definitely in the last 5 years, it's a considerable amount that I'm seeing now compared to what I used to see, like a massive amount. But yeah, I don't understand why. I do, but I don't at the same time.
It's a shame that they're in a position where there's so many in the forest, but we can't hunt them. I think that would be a bit of a game changer. Even look, I'd like to make it more palatable. I'd love a tag system on them. I'd pay extra to have a tag to be able to harvest one for meat, and
Yeah,
I
so would I actually.
I wouldn't have an issue with that. And if you don't want to put them on the targeted species list so that it's a free for all because people are worried about that and that's not as palatable for the regular person, well, do a tag system. Go, you know what? We need to take this many out of the forest. Let's do a bit of a survey. Let's do a similar system to what they do in the States and say, all right, I'm going to have 100 permits or 100 tags for this forest for this year. You buy one, you've got a month, 2 months, whatever it might be.
Yep.
That I wouldn't be opposed to. That then creates a revenue stream, provides opportunities to keep the numbers in check better. I see that as a win-win. Plus, they're not being wiped off the landscape. I think that's where people really come undone a little bit is, especially people that advocate that we shouldn't be hunting and we shouldn't intervene, is that they're thinking about the individual animal as opposed
Yes.
to the majority. Now, it's great for the horses down there at the moment. There's plenty of feed, there's plenty of space, and they're thriving. We don't want to get to a position where we're going the opposite way, where there's an oversupply of animals, not enough feed, and then they start to starve. That's a worst case scenario. Or disease start to spread through them because of their population.
Yeah, I was about to say that disease. That's even worse.
The other arguments people go, oh, we can just round them up and use them. And it's like, okay, like, yes, sure, not opposed to that too, but I think a mix. Like having a few tags, round some up as well. You're not going to wipe them out. Let's be real. There's that many embedded in there now. They're not getting wiped out. So something like that would be the best of both worlds.
I'm wondering if it also has something to do with the fact that we actually saw some people in the state forest horse riding.
Yes, yeah.
So I'm guessing that's also part of it as well, because that would be a horrible incident if
That is one for me. Is that I feel is definitely probably a major reason.
Yeah.
And I feel there could be ways around it that you can have, like Marragul North. I don't see people riding horses through that personally.
That's where we saw them, yeah.
Oh, the horse riders.
Yeah, it was 4 people.
There you go.
There was 4 people literally like on the other side of the creek off Powerline Road, like in the forest, riding the horses. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
See, I see that like Bago's got some great facilities and campgrounds that are designed and set up for horse riding to promote that. So I could say, in spots like that, just ban it. But you definitely could have another colour on the map or lines or dots or something saying, like they do with the aerial baiting.
Yeah.
They put in there so people know what zone is the aerial baiting. Or
designated areas.
Yeah, so people horse riding are not going to be in the firing line. But then that also comes down to people. I mean, horses, from all my experience down there and seeing them, they don't run off at 100 miles an hour. They stick around. So I think it's pretty easy for you to notice that there's a rider on the back or that they're saddled up as opposed to – and look, the condition of a kept horse compared to the ones down there, they are very different. Like, they're unkept. You can see that they're definitely a wild animal. So
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, but I think you're right. I think that's a very good point you make, that's probably one of the definite potentials for it. And I think that's same as why we're not allowed to use tree stands in there. I think that's that liability part, is that they're doing everything to mitigate risk, which is understandable too, because it is a corporation, the forests.
Yeah. So what's your plan for this rut?
Mate, cannot wait. As I said, Croak Camp all over it.
I'm going to try and make it down there.
That's exciting. I hope you get there. It seems like I've got a really good bunch of guys that listen to the podcast that are going to be coming down and joining us. So really excited just to be able to share camp and have some banter. Frankie's not coming, but that's cool. He made a bit of a sledge about the Superior camp not being our one. So that's fine. So we'll hopefully get his cousins and brother onto deer, and that will be before, I think it'll either be before or at the exact same time as the other camp.
Yeah.
So the pressure could be on him, and he doesn't do well under pressure, old Frankie. And I know he'll be listening to this, and he keeps saying, "Oh, mate, no, the pressure. There's no pressure. There's no pressure." Well, there is, and there's a lot of it. And when they all get a deer, and they're messaging him and they're showing him, and he's going away, I can just see him there with a bucket 20 again, shaking like he's got, like he's had a couple of Red Bulls injected into his, IV'd straight into him. And I can just see it happening. And I'm excited about that. That makes me, just get excited to try and have his mates come down, and hopefully they'll get onto some good animals too. So
yeah, it's awesome.
I'm looking forward to that. That'll be good.
I'm going to try to beat you guys down there and go a few days earlier, and hopefully meet when you guys get down there. That'll be my plan.
Yeah, that'd be good. As I said, the group coming down, like I think I'm going for 5 days, but the reality is, like, if someone comes for 1 or 2 days, do what you're doing. It's just, you're hunting on your own. If people want to pair up or whatever, go for it. It's not a guided hunt or anything like that. It's just, we're sharing camp. We're going to be in the same forests, have some fun, being able to come back to camp and have a chat and some banter, and just have a good time. I think that will just add.
Yeah, I've never done anything like that before, so sounds really good.
Yeah, really, and that's why I wanted to do it. I thought, I enjoyed last year going away with the Hunters Campfire boys, and went, we could do something like this as well. And I think it just a bit of community too for the podcast. I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, absolutely not. It's hard to meet people that like hunting and also hunt in state forest. I don't run across many people like in my day-to-day that enjoy it. It's usually me and my best friend, and I talk to you and maybe one other bloke. That's about it. It's hard to tell people that you like hunting without them getting a bit upset about it, if that or having an opinion about it, which isn't a bad thing, because you educate them and you tell them things. But should be cool. Should be cool to meet a whole bunch of new fellows.
That's what I'm excited about. I think just a lot of people I've been talking to, some people I've never spoken to, and just having to meet up and go, g'day, have a good time away in the bush, doing something we all love, and we all surrounded by like-minded people with good ethics. Man, I think that's going to be great. So
it sounds like a great time.
I'm excited about that. Time. And the elusive buck. I haven't confirmed if James is coming from Blackfoot, and I hope not, to be honest. And James, if you're hearing this, feel free not to come, because I don't want you shooting anything that I've been chasing, because I know he keeps stirring me up about that. So
James was the one that shot those 2 bucks last year or the year before, was it?
Yes, yeah. Yes. He's a top bloke, James. But we're in a group chat from Snow Camp, and we call him the he wants to be the stag thief. He wants to make sure that if I see something that he'll get it in front of me. So I'm happy for him not to attend.
I think I've mentioned this before, but one of the fallow that he shot, the wider one, I'm 99% sure I've seen that deer like the year before. At 99%, it looked so familiar. Yeah, it looks so familiar. We were at Moraga North, and we were having some lunch under the power lines, just chilling, just doing nothing. And a deer just like literally walked right next to us. We could have threw a rock at it, and it looked
right.
just like that white one that he took.
Yeah.
Exactly like it. Exactly like it.
Well, that's
Yeah,
where he
very
got
cool.
it. So you never
Yeah.
know. It's
Yeah.
they're a funny creature, the old deer, and there's ones that I've got trail cameras where you can see the same ones pop up at the same time of year, and sometimes never again. You'll never see them, so you just don't know what happened to them, whether they got shot or they just didn't come back. Or
Yeah. Yeah.
it's that fascinates me. I love the learning that goes around just the animal itself and how they see. It's so cool to look at how a prey animal sees the world and think about what they're looking for, because that
Yeah.
the eyes on the different side of the head compared to how we view, we have that depth perception where they don't necessarily as much. So
No,
that
they don't.
they're needing that movement, and that even being able to play around with that. And I did that the last time when one of the deer was looking straight at me and just moving super slow but straight at it.
Yeah.
And because there was no lateral movement, it had no idea I was there.
Yeah.
And I was able to get away
couldn't work
with
you
it.
out. Yeah, it couldn't work you out.
Well, it couldn't see me moving because I was going straight at it. So it was like, oh, that's fascinating. And I think that drives me to be a better hunter and have a better understanding of what's going on with what I'm chasing. And that's, I love that whole thing too. I just love learning. I love learning about these things and learning something new when I go out, and that's where the whole thing just ties together. I love it. Absolutely love it.
But, so do I. And you get rewarded at the end of it when it all comes together.
100% with amazing high quality protein that is second to none.
So good. What's your favorite way to eat it?
I'm very basic. I like just salt, pepper, garlic. A little bit of I think it's the SPG rub from
the Holy Trinity. The Holy Trinity.
I just throw that and just bit of just butter in a cast on.
Me too.
Skillet and game on.
Me too. Yeah,
love it.
Exactly the same. It's so good, isn't it?
Oh, and I think that's a credit to how good the meat is that you can be so simple and yet it can be just so delicious.
Yeah, and so good for you as well.
Yeah, well, being such a lean, I think that's I think people miss that a little bit, is that this animal is just out in the wild, and that we have the opportunity just to get out there and harvest them and take something that is at the top of its game.
Yep.
And I don't know, just the whole process for me is so rewarding and challenging, and I love the whole thing. I get why people. I've got a few mates that they love the challenge of a state forest. They will hunt private lands. They'll hunt it a lot, but when they want the challenge, they'll go public land, or they'll change species. We were talking about sambar earlier. That's the perfect example of people wanting to chase sambar because they're so elusive, so smart. It's so much harder. That is one for me. I love the idea of all these different animals with different aspects that you've got to take into consideration in how they move, what they do at different times. And it's like sambar,
and their instincts as well.
Yeah, well,
they have their own instincts.
I mean, getting out after fallow in the morning is a great time. And then talking to people about and learning more about sambar is a lot of people just hunt them in the arvos. They have a sleep in the morning. They're not as active. So it's like, okay, that's really interesting to know. If you're going to chase them in the morning, that they're probably going to be bedded down or warming up better down, just getting some of that sun coming up in the early morning, as opposed to they've loaded up the gut the night before, especially if it's really hot or there's going to be some changes in weather. So finding out all that sort of stuff, that's completely different to how I would approach hunting fallow. That's cool too. So interesting.
Game.
Well, different species, different characteristics, different mannerisms, you name it.
You name it, and they're in the same area.
Oh, how good's that? And I think that's the beauty of how lucky we are here, is that having 6 different species, and some of them overlap, significantly. That's just amazing. that you can be in a space where you could have multiple different species of deer there that you can hunt and different ways. And yeah, it's cool. It's very, very cool.
We've been noticing actually, like, because I'm from Canberra, we've been noticing that I've been seeing more deer around, like in Canberra, but like not in the city, but more like on the outskirts and pushing in. Been noticing them heaps more lately in the last few years. It's crazy.
I think that one of the things I know people were really worried about with the fires that came through is that it would wipe out populations, but all that fresh pit coming through as well, and good vegetation and food, and it also disperses them out a bit more too. So the population has then just bounced back massively.
Yeah.
And I think that's the numbers are starting to spread out. And it's one for me. I really think we need to be on our game as hunters, that we need to try and manage the numbers a bit better. Don't let them explode too much, because that's where I fear if it gets out of control that people will have to step in, and it won't be using hunters as the great resource that hunters are to be able to control numbers. It will be what's the easiest, cheapest method, which then sort of makes me very concerned. And I don't want to lose that tradition, culture, lifestyle that we have.
Yeah, no, neither do I. I've fallen in love with it the first time I headed out and tried it, and never looked back.
How'd you get into it?
Well, through Lockie, actually, my best mate. He wanted to get his firearms license and wanted to start hunting, and I was like, yep. I did a bit of growing up around shooting, nothing crazy, just 22s and air rifles and stuff like that. Because I got Italian background, so I learned a lot of stuff with the grandparents, like with my nonno and stuff like that. We'd rear chickens up to eat them. We wouldn't go to the shop to buy meat. We would go out to someone's farm and go buy like a whole cow and then kill it on the spot and butcher it up ourselves and then take it home to feed the family. So I always liked the idea of bringing home your own meat. And me, I really love my fishing. I love my camping. Going hunting just, goes hand in hand.
Makes sense.
It just goes hand in hand, and I love it. Love it. It's the best to reset yourself from, everyday life. I couldn't think of anything else better. So yeah, first generation hunter in my family.
Yeah, nice. I mean, we all start somewhere, and that's part of everybody's different journey. So it's exciting for me to hear people's different starts and backgrounds and how they got into it and where they're going with it, and even what passion they have for hunting. So it takes all types for this crazy world we live in, and it's awesome to hear about it. So.
Yeah, that's right. No, that's right.
Well, Johnny, mate, I appreciate you coming on. It's been a long time coming. We've been talking about this for a while. I'm glad we finally got the chance to do it and make it happen.
Awesome, Matty.
So, mate, well done. But the year has ticked over and you haven't got a deer on the deck yet for this one. So, mate, I can't wait to hear. Soon. I was going to say I can't wait to hear. But I can't wait to hear when you do get one down. So, mate, thanks for coming on.
Matty.
Love it. Matty. And hopefully we'll see you there at Crow Camp.
I hope we do. Thanks for having me on, man.
Not a problem at all. All right, listeners. Bye for now. You've been listening to the Australian Hunting and Beyond podcast with Matt. Thanks for tuning in, and can't wait to catch you next time. But in the meantime, if you want more, you can find it at linktr.ee/Australian Hunting and Beyonds. That will give you our YouTube, Instagram, X, Facebook, you name it. We'll catch you next time.